So guys, let's welcome Paula. Paula is an amazing designer and illustrator from Brazil. She did some work, like passion work for herself, but she also did some big works for Google and Netflix, right? Like lettering work. She does a lot of amazing work with typography, and you are doing right now an assignment that you just posters with all type posters. So it'll be amazing to see some of her work that she already did related with that. And so let's welcome Paula. Paula, is up to you now.
Yay! Okay, so I will share my screen because I have some presentation to show you. Okay, it's already happening. It's okay?
Is here, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I think it's good afternoon for you too, or is it morning? Or, well, good afternoon for me and for you. My name is Paula Cruz, and I'm going to talk to you about my work and what motivates me to work on graphic design and illustration. First of all, I have to talk about myself because I believe what I do is really connected to what I work and what I am. And so let's talk about this Pokemon. I have 29 years old. I am from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I work with design plus illustration because for me these two fields are really connected. Every time I do illustrations as a designer, like as Paul Rand when he was working on children's book illustrations. And when I work with design, I am working also my skills as illustrator. I graduated on 2016 at Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. It's a public school here in Brazil. I read a lot. I read a lot. And this is really connected to my work. I work with doing book covers and illustrations for editorial market. So my interpretation of the briefings is really connected with my view as a reader. I am also millennial and proud. People complain a lot about millennials, but I think it's most of the times a really unfair situation for us. And I am really proud of my generation. I think we are very skilled and really hardworking. So this is part of my work and my presentation also. First of all, I work because I love this shit. Like every time I work with graphic design, I am having fun. This is really important for me and for doing what I do. And that means working with books, music, art, lettering, comics, fashion, movies, magazines, anime, yes, love animals and animes, and also mangas. This is a killer. UFRJ is the university I came from, and I don't know if you know the situation in Brazil for public education, but every time I say I study at this university, people are like, oh my God, do you really do this? Like, how is studying in a public university? It was like, it's kind of shocking for people to hear this in Brazil because we are facing a really dark times in education and cultural perspectives. But people here in Brazil are really concerned about, do I have to do a good university to be a good designer? Or how much my university is related to my career? Like, should I only choose the best option ever and I allow it to do this? And then I say to everyone this sentence that not everyone can become a great artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere. And this is a great quote from Ratatouille, the movie, because it's one of the most overwhelming, I think that the word for this movie, because it's the thing that the Ratatouille gets the recognition from the chef's critique, and then you can apply it to your life. Like, I don't have to be on the best university to be the best artist ever. Like, we can do the best with what we have, and this already good enough. It was important to say this because now, after like 3 years after my graduation, I am really thankful to all the situations and all the perspective I got from my public university education. There I got a really good perspective of cultural and pop movements, and I think my formation as a person and as a citizen is really connected to being there. So all my work is somehow connected to this, all these classes I had there, and I think it was one of the best options I could ever give to myself studying there. So I would also say that experimentations are super duper welcome in any field. As a student, I did a lot of experimentations. Like, I did postcards, book covers. This is my first book cover ever, and it's all typography based. I did a lot of illustrations, paper cut in posters. I was on this phase. Experimental move posters for a movie that I liked. Packaging, postmodernist posters, more illustrations, editorial design, more editorial design, and infographics. I did all this work for college. Like, although I liked book covers from since the day one I was at the university, I took the chance of liking more fields than I was expecting at the beginning. This was really good for me because I could learn from my passions what I could do. And also, like, when I say to you guys that I work with design plus illustration, is because doing an infographic, it's the most designer skill I've ever done with illustration. Like, this illustration from sperm whale, I think is the name in English, should be the most descriptive and informative ever. And it was really difficult for me because all my illustrations come from narrative and interpretations and etc. So I have to work on this kind of style to deliver these results for the best infographic I could ever do. One of the things I also stuck on my mind on the university period was that every project can be your best project. Like, even though the teachers are not that good or you don't like the subject or the themes, you should apply yourself the best way you can do, because things start with your portfolio, and building a good portfolio, even though it's not like on the best subjects you could ever expect, is the best option you could do. Like, this is a magazine that we created on university on a subject about magazines and art. It was a magazine for Museu de Arte Moderna. That means we could say it's the MoMA of Rio de Janeiro. Like, not with that high structure, but somehow it should be MoMA for the same art, contemporary art subjects. And we got to create it, not only the covers, but also the name of the magazine, the things, do the all the pages, all the editorial choices we had to do on this class. So this is one of the pages about contemporary art. This is another page about how perspectives are more than just the references. Here says 2 plus 2 equals 5, because when two factors come together, they are more than you should expect of them isolated. So I read this and I thought, this is about new perspective and understanding the world as a complex structure. And I used Escher's work to achieve this interpretation from the reader. I also wanted to do a poster illustration for the magazine because it would be the first issue of this mag. And on the main article of this magazine, they were talking about Who's Afraid of Contemporary Art, with a reference to the movie Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. And on the article, they talk a lot about this poem from Stephanie Mallarmé called, I don't know the name in English, lance de dados, throwing dice. In literal translation, I don't know if this is the proper title, but on this article, they talk a lot about this poem, but I wasn't able to read the poem on the article. It wasn't part of the text. So I thought it was really strange to not have this poem on the text until the moment I saw the poem. Like, it's the first poem that the text and the typography and how the text is as a form is part of the poem. So you cannot just like write it. You have to respect the spaces and the white space and the typography and the caps lock and the lowercase and the uppercase. And when I saw this, I thought, okay, this is a really amazing information. The reader should have this on the magazine. So I did this poster to the readers receive on the magazine as a gift for the first issue. This is the poster, back and front. I also tell to everyone I know in graphic design and illustration that we should also and always listen to our heart. It may sound cheesy, but it's completely true, because as a person who works with our passions, we should take care of our passions. I really wanted to study abroad since high school, I guess. But here in Brazil, we have a really, really bad economy. So the Brazilian reais are always too expensive. No, how can I say this? Like, the amount of money I have in Brazil is not the same I have in dollars. It's like 1/3.
Yeah, so now, for example, one of our money in Brazil is $1 costs in Brazil 5, almost 6 of our money.
Yeah, that's it. And studying abroad, it's connected to how money will I spend on these studies. So I was like waiting for the good opportunity to study abroad, and also to study on a good university for me, like a university I could learn a lot. And that happened in 2014 with the Science Without Borders program. There is a scholarship program from Brazil government that no longer exists, but I could apply it and could study abroad from there. And I studied on this little country. I don't know if you could guess just from the map, but it's the Netherlands. I went to the Netherlands to study because I love their progressive view of life in art and design. And also my favorite art masters, such as Van Gogh. On Netherlands, they say Van Gogh. because it's the perfect man. And all my favorite designers and artists come from the Netherlands. So I thought it would be a great fit for me to work and to learn and to study there. Just to show to you what I'm talking about when I say about Dutch design. In Netherlands, we have Karel Martens. There is a great, like one of the best graphic designs ever. And he's really, how can I say, he's what you would expect when you say, oh, this is graphic design, right? Because it's printing, it's book covers, magazine covers, it's like semic structure. But in Netherlands, we also have this kind of things. The Raw Color Studio, that is a design studio that do art exhibitions and color experimentations. Like they did a whole exhibition in a museum with fans and color theory, and it's like fantastic, and it's just fans in colors, and they work with this kind of stuff only. I mean, it really got my attention when I saw people doing what I knew that is graphic design at the time, and also to see this kind of stuff, and I was like, oh my god, is this graphic design also? Nobody told me, but I want to learn why I didn't learn like this. So we have these two views of graphic design, like traditional graphic design considerations, and this really experimentation and brand new idea of what is design. I lived in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. There is like, when you think about the Netherlands, you think about Amsterdam, that is like crazy adventures and all the craziness you can think about in a city. But if you think in the Netherlands as a country, you should expect like little cities, cows, and cheese. Like it's a really small country, but with progressive view of life. But the city that I studied, Rotterdam, is not the regular basic Dutch city you could expect, because Rotterdam is one of the most important ports in the planet, and it was the most strategic city in the Europe during the Second War. So Hitler shoot out some bombs on Rotterdam, and the city became nothing on the Second War. So what would be a disaster, and sure it is, for the Dutch, was considered a new opportunity to build a city, and a new city with looking to the future. So the Rotterdam, it's really different from other cities from the Netherlands because it's a cosmopolitan city, like New York City, but inside Netherlands. There they have a Bosman Museum. There is like an amazing art museum that makes traditional with contemporary art. They have this market with local projects from the farmers. They have crowding fundings for building the city the way the people want. Like this is a yellow bridge in the center to people cross the avenue without waiting too long for the red sign, for the green sign. And also this is the place I lived in Rotterdam. Like it's the most crazy house I've ever been to, and it was built with the futurism of the 50s in mind. So when I see that Rotterdam is looking forward in design, in art, and architecture. I mean, like they are really doing it. It's part of their environment. I study on Willem de Kooning Academie in Rotterdam. They are like a part of Hogeschool of Rotterdam, and it's amazing school to experiment and learn new things. Like everything I didn't had in Brazil, I had in Netherlands. And one of the things that really took my attention on the year of study was this campaign from the school that had one of the slogans: if you are failing, you are learning. What for me, it's like almost poetry because I started to take advantage of my errors because of this slogan. Like I start to pay attention to the errors and be more thankful to them. Like sometimes an error is just an error because we don't expect them, because they are not on our control. And hey, that's something really tricky because being in control is not always good. Learning things from out of the blue is good too. So I started to use my errors as my style. That's one of the tricky things. Not tricky, but it's one of the good insights I had on the Netherlands. So, okay, this is just the first part to understand my perspectives and my work. But now let's chat about some projects and selected work. I have it. Uh, First, I did masters and I presented my master's dissertation last year. And my master is really connected to all the things I've talked.
I cannot hear you. Are you still here? Paula?
Hello? 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 I don't hear you.
You back. You're back.
Yay!
Great. So
Wait.
share screen again. Thank you.
Share. Is that okay? View. Everything okay? Can I continue?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know what was the last thing I said before.
He was talking about PUC and getting the master and
Yeah,
entering the master. Yeah.
yeah. And part of my master's was to develop a hybrid publication for the bate-bolas. There is a folk manifestation in Rio de Janeiro that is like similar to nothing in the world. Like you could say that bate-bola is something that can be similar to the Venetian carnival, but Venetian carnival is not chaotic as bate-bolas, because bate-bolas are this group of masked people that go out on the carnival to play and scare people with the costumes that are mainly based on pop culture. That means the costumes have Naruto, Peter Pan, Disney, and soccer in just one costume. And like they are really colorful, they are really crazy, and they are what we could say they are like really postmodernism in this kind of way, because they are believers that more is more. not less is more, more is more. So
It's
I
kind of
did,
scary too, right? It's
yeah,
very scary.
it's very scary because you are walking on the street to go to the street carnival and they see this kind of figure that
So for
is,
people here in US understand, it's like a group of Joker from Batman, you know. Imagine that you have Joker and all the villains that's together with him because they wear
yes,
masks. They looks like clowns, but they have those balls in hand. They bump the balls on the floor and make a lot of noise. It's super crazy.
yeah, it's like carnival being scary, which is really unexpected convention for terror movies. Like they show colors can be scary and fun at the same time. And I worked with this group for in my master's because they create their themes and thematics for the carnival during research on their internet, and they are like reading all this information. And here in Brazil, you are not considered a reader if you are not reading a physical book. It's like a matter of prejudice also for this new generation that are reading on ebooks. But I wanted to work with these new readers and this folk manifestation to understand how can the design, the graphic design and the illustrations help them to perpetuate their history, their archive, their legacy. Because each year they use a different costume and it only endures for the 4 days of carnival. After carnival, they are just thrown away. So we have a lot of graphic design material to work on based on the not, the not, how can I say this? How can graphic design work with this material that are expected not too long? How can we work with memory, with the all the affection they have with this manifestation, because it's a group manifestation, it's a familiar manifestation most of the times. So I did this hybrid publication. The in the printed version is printed with risograph. I don't know if you guys know risograph, but it's the only possible way to print neon colors with a really low cost, because you would expect to print neon colors with Pantone colors that are really expensive. But I used Riso to print and achieve these colors, and also to work with reticles. Is that the word, Roberto? Reticulous? Mm,
Yeah, can be.
okay. Because it also resembles to the old almanacs and old carnival aesthetics, because these masks and these costumes are from the beginning of the 90s. The 90s, no, it's from the beginning of the century. So they are somehow the old carnival in Rio, but resampled with new pop culture references. This is one of my best projects so far, and it's for me really important because it's not only the mix between theory and practice, but also I am talking about a really local folkloric manifestation in my city that, I don't know, people in London are viewing and liking on Behance nowadays. Like this project got viral and got viral on a lot of countries that did not know, do not know the Bate-Bola manifestation. So for me, it's really important to show to other countries the beauty that comes from Brazil and from a city and from the suburbs of my city. I am the person who says, do authorial projects or personal projects. Like, these are the projects people pay you to do. after you post them. Like every year I do at least 3 personal projects, and all my personal projects are somehow connected to commercial projects after they are published. One of them is this one that is called I Am Comic Sans Asshole. I don't know if you guys like Comic Sans, but for me it's a good font, although it's misunderstood as a font because people use it on really serious contexts, like Brazil government use these fonts on official documents. So people are complaining about the font, but what should be complained, it's the use of the font. I got engaged, and on the ring you can write your name on it. And my fiance said, okay, do you want to write it on our rings, our names? And I said, wow, but what font should we use it like to write on our rings? And I posted on social media this dialogue, and people said, ha 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 ha, Comic Sans, ha ha ha, it's an awful font. And I got like, no, it's not awful. Actually, it's pretty fun. It's a fun font, not for this contest, but it got me thinking that how people understand aesthetics and how aesthetics can be connected to fascism in some way. Like if I was talking about Helvetica, people would say, oh, it's so nice to write on Helvetica on your ring. And I was like, it's just a matter of perspective. Maybe in another universe, I don't know, Helvetica is the underdog, not Comic Sans. And I wanted to create a publication that would be so good and so beautiful that no one could blame Comic Sans anymore. Like the problem is not the fonts they use. And I did this publication with this text of Mike Lashet because I wanted to write the text, but I've already found it. I've already found it the perfect text. There is a monologue from Comic Sans saying, listen up, I know the shit you've saying about behind my back. You think I'm stupid. You think I'm amateur. You think I am malformed, pathetic, excuse for fun, but I'm not. The problem is you guys with your minimally Bauhaus-esque fascism fest, which I think is like the perfect argument because the problem is not the font, it's like the elitist aesthetics people expect from typography. And this was one of the projects that I actually got the feedback from people that were saying like, okay, Paula, I give up. Comic Sans is a good font. I can say to you that this project is not good or it's bad or it's ugly. I understand now. And I was like, that's the rhetoric of design, in graphic design. That's the power of graphic design. Let's talk about other projects that people do not expect me from talking about the references, because it's been like 2 years since I got into the K-pop vibes. I am a K-pop fan, and when I first saw this music video from BTS, I got like amazed by the colors. They looked like nothing else. Like not even Nicki Minaj was doing the same colors in the USA. And I was like stunned by their patterns and their really colorful and nice use of fashion costumes on the video clip. And I was like, whoa, this kind of style is something that I want to draw. Like, I love this clothing. And I was like, okay, what characters can I draw with this clothing? Like, I think it would be nice to have something unexpected. Like, I don't want to portray like princess. And I was thinking, it's been a while since I don't draw skateboarders. Like, I think I should draw them. I think I should go back to my Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 times when I was playing this video game. And I was like, okay, I'm going to draw these fancy guys doing skateboarding. And how can I understand their movement? How can I portray their good vibes on this both thematics? And I did this drawing that is like a mix of both, of my K-pop references and my video game references. And this project is what, how can I say this? After drawing this, Adidas and Spotify asked me to work with them. And it's like a personal project. So I was like, okay, I don't have to wait for the clients to tell me what they want. I can do what I want, and then they would say me, okay, let's do this, but it's time for me. That is one of the things that happened with this drawing. And I think like this drawing already got me 4 commercial works, like 4 paid works. So I think it's a good example of do personal projects. They are what you like and what you are wanted to do as a paid job. I also got a lot of illustrations commissions for these characters. I draw, like, I think it was 2 years ago, and I draw these guys because I was studying color palettes, analog color palettes, but also because I was watching but I was remember all the things I saw on Van Gogh Museum in my Netherlands times, and I was watching Cowboy Bebop, the most amazing anime ever made. It's like my favorite, and I was this time doing a personal project to study and to understand my references. And again, this project like got me a lot of commercial work after it was made. It's a series of 6 characters, but if I didn't draw this, I wouldn't do a lot of character design I'm doing nowadays. Well, let's talk about, I think it's more 3 works that are really like works of my life. And one of those works, it's from Google. When I was working at Relâmpago Studio, we got this work to do it, that is doing stickers for the app Allo, that is like a messenger for Google Allo. And what is most amazing in this work is we were asked to do stickers from Brazilian slangs, but not only Brazilian, it's Carioca, Rio de Janeiro slangs. So we could suggest slangs for Google, like caraca. Caraca is non-translatable word for onomatopoeia here in Rio de Janeiro. That means like, whoa, okay. It has a lot of meanings, but it's really local. And we could suggest it based on a packaging from a juice made here in Rio de Janeiro. Also, we could animate all these stickers because they are used on the app. So all of them have animations on them. And we were asked to do the Rio de Janeiro slangs, but other studios did the slangs for São Paulo, Curitiba, etc. So it was really nice to be chosen as one of the studios that could portray the words and the typography and the letterings of the Rio. Irado means amazing or awesome. It's like something really, really good. And it was, I think it's my first really big project. Like working with Google was a dream. when I received their email was like, I don't even know how to click on this anymore. Like it was really such a blast to do this work, especially on these thematics. It was amazing. Um, at about 3 years ago, I started to work with Pluton Books, that is a sci-fi Brazilian sci-fi editor house here in Rio, focused focused on ebooks. And the main briefing I received from them was to create a visual ID that could be Brazilian and not only Brazilian. Like we don't want to be yellow and green Brazilianish. We want to be Brazilian, but in a sci-fi kind of view. And the most Brazilian sci-fi um, perspective I could think about was cyberpunk, because we have a lot of cyberpunk context in Brazil. I don't know if you guys know, but the director of the game Cyberpunk said the most cyberpunk cities he visited in the planet was São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. Like, it's not only my opinions, like really dystopian times in Brazil. But I think I could use this cyberpunk view in a positive way. Like, we could talk about the future and Brazil expect the future. So I got my references from Akira, the manga. If you guys know Akira, you could resemble the typography, like really condensed and bold on the movie posters. And I also got the concept that was all the dimensions on the space. So Pluton could also play with this idea of op art and black and white, since it's on Kindle e-readers, it's black and white, and we could use this op art to understand the thematics of sci-fi genre. Also the business cards. And Pluton also asked me to do their book covers. That is my beginning as a book cover artist. This is a book about the blazing world from Margaret Cavendish, and it's a utopian written by a woman in like 300 years ago. There was a woman written about how the world would be and how could it be better. So it was one of the covers I was asked, I not asked, but I decided to draw a scenario that is not my field. I am totally character driven, but it was nice to experiment other ways of drawing, like this vectorish style of drawing. I was also doing more and more book covers for Pluton Livros, and this is the book like adaptation for the book cover of Diário Simulado. That is a cyberpunk story in Curitiba, Brazil. And this, in my opinion, is my best book cover ever. Like these characters looking to the viewer, to the reader, and you can already understand the story just by the semiotics of the scenario and these two characters. This is one of the projects I like the most. It's my first mural in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And it's a mural I did with Leandro Assis, one of my friends and co-workers. As a freelancer, I work with several other designers depending on the project. And I work with Leandro a lot. Like, we really have fun drawing together. And this was one of the projects we did it together. And we were asked and invited to do a mural in Brazil that is 100 meters long. And we were doing this during pandemic times. That was this year and last year. And we the briefing was bringing positivity to the Rio de Janeiro city. And we were like, this is the most difficult briefing we could ever answer in pandemic times, like how to be positive during these ages. And we were like, okay, let's talk about the slangs and how people use the humor in the city to communicate themselves. In this way, we can also um, show that the best we have in Rio de Janeiro at the city are the people. So we did this mural. There is like really, really long with a lot of slangs. Like some are old and some are new. We were mixing generations in these slangs. And it's one of my favorite projects because it's on the center of the city. So people from all the different publics can see this piece of graphic design. One of the best projects I've ever done as a book cover is this story from Ursula K. Le Guin, or Calegan, I don't know how to say her name properly, but it's a story about colonialism and sci-fi genre. It's a story that, how can I say this without giving you spoilers, but it's the story of humans going to another planet and then making slaves that were already living on the planet. Like the aliens are their slaves, but somehow they are connected in heritage, and they have to do a lot of riots to not being slaves anymore in this planet. It's like a really complex and powerful story about what happened to, for instance, Brazil in the colonialism times. Uh, it was a really good opportunity to draw this new view of what would be colonialism, so this critical view, and also to draw these scenarios and persons that should look like each other but are not that similar. They have a lot of conflict on them. So I was like thinking about the illustrations applied on the project, like um, this character and this character are looking to at each other but are also looking to the reader. They are facing their heritage and their expectations. This applied on the book physical product. This is the book open, the book over with all the faces. And I think it's like one of the best covers I've ever done because not I was doing this during the pandemics, but I was doing this book cover during the fires on the Pantanal forest, a tropical forest. It was like really powerful project to do at that time. Last but not least, my project for Netflix, done with a lot of people actually, but the illustrations we did in a group of 3 people. That is me, Leandra Cis, and Camila Rosa. And we were asked to do these stickers for the designer to apply it. And we did like 100 stickers in 2 weeks. It was like crazy process. But somehow it was a good process because you look at these final illustrations and it looks like one person did it, not 3 people. And I really like this manifestation of, I don't know, friendship within in the work. Like it's a collective work that is really viewed as a whole. It's really every illustration fits with each other, and I think it's beautiful. Um, these stickers were used on the live from Netflix, on the almanac, on the print version, on the website. It has a lot of applications, and it was a campaign for a festival that could not longer be live or like on the street because on 2019, Tudum Festival was a live festival. People went to a place and saw a lot of actors and producers talking about Netflix young adult programs. But this year with the pandemic, we had to do a printed version. The main slogan was Netflix going to your house and not the opposite, not you going to Netflix. So we used these stickers to create the logo, the elements, the characters that are from this Netflix series. I think it's one of the most fun projects I've ever done, not only because of the thematics, because I really love young adult series, but also because it was done in a collective way and the final result is like amazing. It's the power of working on a good team. Well, I talk a lot. I mean, a lot. You have, you should have some questions by now. I don't know, but it was amazing to talk with you. Thank you very much, Roberto, for the invitation, and I hope you like my work. Um, you could ask something right away on this class, but if you are too shy to ask on this class, I can always reply to you via my social media or my email or anything you wanted. So feel free to talk to me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paula. So I would like to know if someone has questions for Paula. I have a lot, so I would like to know. I know that some of the students has class on noon, so they already left. Some of them email me, so just to know. But someone has some question for Paula?
Should I stop the share screen?
Yeah, I think could be good. You can ask or you can chat. If you are too shy to ask, if you want to chat. So I have one question. So one thing that you talk different, but I kind of have the same message. So you're talking about the how good is the experimentation when you talked about your university, and then when you move on to Netherlands, also you talk about the mission of your school, that you are not failing, you are not learning. So how take risks is important for our designer.
It's the main thing, I guess. Like when I talked about taking risks, it's not about it. It's not only about the process. Like what new thing are you learning with the project? But it's also like um, how can we push graphic design forward? Like how can we think much more than the tendencies are people are using nowadays? I think taking risks is also about being more smart than people are usually used to.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the other thing that I love it that you show, because something that I always talk with them, and sometimes the life is hard to people get it, is how important is your background. So not necessarily in design, but your background as a person and how this influence the way that you design, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Totally.
Yeah, and the
Uh,
study abroad experience and everything. We have also a program from study abroad. We have Italy, you can choose between Italy or Japan. Uh, yeah,
Japan. wow, it would be
Now it is
amazing.
stopped it because of the pandemic. I was selected to take a class to Japan. So the you'll be myself and other professor that is electronically art. So you like mix like creating characters and animating the characters into the Japan idea. So it's something that
Nice,
we expect to be back soon. Um,
nice.
so yeah, I would like you to talk a little bit about this. You already talked about how it was important for you to study abroad, but how is open up this new vision, this new
Mhm.
experience for you, and how this changed the way you design?
Mm, okay.
Change.
Uh, the Netherlands were one of the countries that went to the sea to discover things.
Mhm.
And they have this mentality until nowadays, like, let's do it. Just do it. Let's do it. One of the times I was at the printing lab station, and I was like, okay, I want to print with laser print on this vinyl. Can I use the machine? And my monitor said, uh, you can, but maybe you will put fire on the machine, on the vinyl. And I was like, whoa, that's true because it's laser cut on
Mhm.
plastic. So never
Mhm.
mind. And he said, no, if it got fire, if the fire happens, that's okay. We can use we can use
Yeah.
water, we can use anything. So you
Uh-huh.
just have to think about the consequences. And I was like, if it gets fire, if the fire happens, that's okay. And I was like, that's 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 a brave view on process.
Yeah.
Like,
And this is something that never gonna happen here, right? So like this is a good to know those things. You also
yeah,
talk about risographic. That's something that we are looking for here.
it's
And
amazing.
yeah, and the personal projects versus commercial project work is like this duality that we always have. So it's something that I love it that you talk about it because something that we like to emphasize
Yeah,
that how important it is like as expression. um, One thing that call a lot of my attention is how the way that you present your project, how well done is, by all the details and the photos and everything. So this is I think also is a very good to the students see that the presentation also is part of the project itself, right?
yeah, totally. Because a good project can be a yeah project if not the presentation is good. But
Exactly.
I'm mediocre project can turn into a good project with a good presentation. That is, it's kind of weird for me to talk like this, but it's true. Like the presentation is the most important thing on the project.
Yeah. So I would like to thank you so much. You're running out of time. And so thank you so much. I will ask the students to leave. I will ask you to stay a little bit so we can finish our conversation.
Okay.
So I'm stop recording right